Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching The Political Vigilante. My name is Graham Elwood, and I'm joined by my friend of the show, activist and creator of Panquake, Suzie Dawson. Suzie, first of all, we've had you on the show several times to talk about Panquake. Sean O'Brien was on the show to talk about it. But in case there's anybody tuning in for the first time who's like, what's this Panquake thing? Tell everybody real quick what Panquake is, how they can get involved, and then we'll get into the updates of where we're at.
Cool. So Panquake.com is a short messaging service. It is similar to other big tech short messaging services, who I will not name, who are getting worse and worse by the day in terms of their censorship of users. And it's gotten so bad now that you can't even trust if your follower account is really your follower account. People's retweets are getting unretweeted, the likes are getting unliked, content is being suppressed all over the show. And that's just not good enough. It's not good enough for content creators. It's not good enough for independent journalists. It's not good enough for whistleblowers or organizations who support whistleblowers. And it's not good enough for the general public either, because your relationships are being interfered with by these corporations. And as if that's not bad enough, they're spying on you. They're watching everything you do, even recording what websites you visit in other browsers and other tabs. They're using your microphone to record your conversations. They are selling your data to other corporations by the 100 or by the 1,000 without your consent. I mean, nobody really wants this. Yeah, okay, you tick a little box saying I've read and understood the terms and conditions, but nobody reads the terms and conditions. And if you did, you'd probably have a heart attack. So it's like we need an alternative, a viable alternative that will allow us to speak, will allow us to maintain relationships that we want to have with people without some corporation in the middle manipulating that relationship, and where we can get our messages out and know that they're intact and that people are able to see them, that we're not being shadow banned, that our accounts aren't being arbitrarily suspended. And Panquake.com is how we're going to do that. That's the solution that's going to deliver this to people. And so that's what I've been busting my backside working on with 26 other amazing people for the last 6+ months. And I'm really proud of what we're doing. So there's new content on our website constantly. Go check it out, panquake.com. If you want to help make this happen, it's a completely 100% crowdfunded effort. We are not taking any venture capital money. We're not working with any corporations. We're not taking money from any source except regular, normal, everyday people, because that's who we're serving. That's who our customer is, and that's who our investors are, just regular people. So if you want to get big tech out of your life and you want communications channels you can trust and that will respect your privacy and will respect your human rights, then jump on board with us at panquake.com.
Yeah, and it's when you first came out with this several months ago, and we're talking about it's subscription based, and some people are like, oh man, I don't want to pay for a subscription, which I understand that pushback initially, but the point that you're making is, look, if you want the free tech platforms that have venture capitalist money, well, they're the ones that censor. And if you have advertisers, like YouTube, the advertisers come in and are like, nope, shut them down. We're not going to play ads on any video that I'm doing that's talking about the war in Yemen or the, Israeli occupation of Palestine or whatever. You just can't talk about that. So that's why, it should be noted that for people to understand that it's not some money grab. It's actually, that's the best way to fund it, because as somebody I've crowdfunded movies, I've crowdfunded the Los Angeles Podcast Festival in its first year. And because I also just not even from a disruptive standpoint of like what Panquake is. It's a good disruption, but even just, I remember we crowdfunded the first year of the Los Angeles Podcast Festival, which was great. And we were dependent upon ticket sales, and we started a live stream, like a pay-per-view thing. We were trying to get that off the ground, and we would get some sponsors, and we had a big sponsor come in one year and wrote us a big fat check. And we were like, oh my God, we're on our way. This is it. And then, so this was our mistake, but we then went into the next year because they gave us a verbal agreement, a verbal commitment to coming back. And then they, at the last minute, a bunch of executives got fired, and the new executives were like, what's a podcast festival, blah, 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 blah. And all of a sudden a big chunk of money got pulled out from underneath us, and we almost had to shut the festival down like days before it was set to go. And because we were going off of this budget based on the prior year, getting this revenue and paying shows. And so we couldn't, we lost anyway. It was a big thing. And so just to someone working in the entertainment industry, I'd rather crowdfund personally, because I've been screwed on that. And just as someone who's a consumer who has given money to certain crowd, even just like fun, like comic books, and I've paid money for, because it's just like, I'd rather just give it right to the content creator who can make whatever they want to make that's for the fans, versus going through like a gatekeeper or intermediate or a network or whatever. Cause then they come and go, oh, you can't see, they can't do this, you can't do that, can't blah, 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 blah. And that's what always makes it a problem, and then gets in the way. And it's like, this could have been cool, but then we would always, in show business, all the suits got involved and ruined it. Now with the intelligence community and what you're doing, and all of us in sort of the indie media space, now it's even 10 times worse. It's not just like they're censoring, like they're just like, as a comedian, it's always some idiot that has no experience with comedy is in charge of comedy at that network or the streaming service. So now it's not just like they're ruining good comedy. Now they're censoring literally what we can say, what we can do. They don't want us to call out the powers that be. They don't want us to call out the ruling class. They literally want us to just make cat videos and TikTok dances and shit like that. And because that's not challenging them. So I know I'm going off a little bit of a tangent, but it's why.
No, you're really not, though, because I think what's happening is they want to turn these internet platforms into an extension of mainstream media. Mm-hmm. They've always had the control and been able to construct the conversation of mainstream media channels. And the mainstream media channels were flopping hard, and independent content creators have been driving the growth of communications on the internet. And so they've decided they want to just push all the independent content creators out of those spaces and replace them with the mainstream media. And I mean, I'm watching it happen. I've seen how many like Hollywood celebrity shows are now showing up on YouTube in the place of these channels that are being censored and silenced. And it's pretty clear to me that there really is an agenda to just shut us down as across the board. And the only way that I can come up with to really do something about that is to build alternate tools. And I remember when Twitter didn't have journalists on it, when Twitter didn't have celebrities on it, when Twitter had activists on it. I remember back during Occupy in 2011, journalists scoffing at us and laughing at us because we were embedding tweets in our blog posts and saying, that's not journalism. You can't embed a tweet in your blog post. And now look at them all like copying us, right? They come to the party after the people. First, you get the mass of people, and then along come the celebrities and journalists into the space. And so that's exactly what will happen with Panquake. And that's why we are not focusing Panquake on going after celebrities or journalists or corporations. We don't want them. We want regular people to be able to communicate. And mark my words, the day will come where the celebrities and the journalists will be registering their Panquake accounts and paying their $5 a month. And that's when they're going to discover that on Panquake, that $5 a month is all you're ever going to be able to invest in the platform, because we're not going to allow any advertising. We're not going to take anything more than that small incremental amount of money from each user. So that's going to create a truly flat, level playing field for everybody. So you are going to have the same ability to build an audience and build a following and be seen and be heard as some Hollywood celebrity that creates a Panquake account, as some corporation that registers an account on Panquake. All of the voices will be even. Their millions of dollars won't buy them influence with us. It won't buy them reach. It won't buy them amplification. And so we will restore the parity between users and make users truly the customers.
Yeah, which is great. And it's like you're doing it on the blockchain. It's open source. It's transparent. They can't, and governments can't come in, because people are like, well, what's to stop, Google or whatever, the FBI to just come in and shut it down or buy it and turn it into something horrible? How is that? What have you done in terms of the design? I mean, I know, but tell the audience, like,
yeah, sure.
done to
Look,
do
this was actually the very first design conversation that we ever had about Panquake before we even started architecting the platform. The very first questions we asked were, how do we make sure that there's nothing that can be seized by authorities? How do we make sure that our service can't have the plug pulled on it by, Amazon Web Services or whoever? And so every single aspect of the way that we've built the program has been with that in mind. So the first thing we realized is how we prevent us from having anything that can be seized by authorities is by it not existing. Therefore, we need to not hold data on centralized servers that can be seized by authorities, or that even that we could sell to some, Zuckerberg comes along and says, here's $10 million, let me buy Panquake. So we have built a system where we don't have anything to sell and we don't have anything that can be seized. So it is a peer-to-peer decentralized network. User data stays on user devices. We don't capture any personal user data. You can sign up for a Panquake account without an email address, without a telephone number, without a mobile phone number. We do not capture any of your personal information. If you are paying your $5 by credit card, you literally leave our site and go to the credit card merchant portal. You deal with them, you're put back into our site, and we do not ingest any of that data from the merchant provider. So we don't know your full name, we don't know your address, we don't know your telephone number, we don't know your credit card information, and we don't want to know it. And we have gone to great lengths to build a system where we will never, ever, ever know it, which means we will never, ever have a data breach. There will never be in the news 10 million Panquake users have their data leaked onto the internet, because we don't have any data to leak. We don't have any data to be breached. So this is like one of the core things for us, is really making sure we don't know anything so that we can, in that way, protect our users.
I love hearing that. And now obviously you've said you've implemented, or there's I don't know what you're calling it, but like some type of guidelines in case someone is on there, advocating for the KKK or whatever. Like there's going to be some type of accountability that isn't just big tech censorship.
So we can moderate in the front end content that is actually illegal. Like if someone is circulating some child pornography on our platform, we can shut down user account #156248890. We still don't need to know your email address, your phone number, or your name. We just simply remove that content from the network, and yes, we can shut that account down. But the difference is when that happens and when we do it, that moderation is recorded on the block. So Panquake moderator, whoever, has removed this content from this user, from this post, for this reason, because it was child pornography, on this date at this time. And so our users, our whole network can see any manipulation of the platform that we do in terms of moderation. They have access to those records transparently, which is the complete opposite of what happens on Facebook or Twitter. So if Twitter shadow bans me, there's no record of it. No one can ever know that. No one can ever hold Twitter accountable for that. If they, remove our content, suspend our account, whatever they do, and they do this by the millions every single day, there's no accountability, there's no record. But with Panquake, it's all a public record for our user community.
That's just so fantastic that you've, it just speaks to you and the team that you've assembled, that everybody involved was like asking these questions. Well, what about this? What about that? And you really have come up with solutions to all of it. So let's talk about where Panquake is at now. You've been in the construction and development side of it for what, 4 months, 5 months now or something? Maybe longer, I forget, but.
So we started on system architecture in October of 2020, and we, by January 2020, we had all of our high-level architecture documents done. And then we needed to find out, do people really want this? And can we raise enough money to actually register the business? We're registered in multiple jurisdictions, which are outside of the Five Eyes, where we actually can be safe legally and financially. So we have also put a lot of thought into that side of things. It's not just about thinking about the system architecture, but actually thinking about the business architecture and the structure of the business and making sure that we can guarantee longevity and continued operations. And we launched on January 17. We needed $50,000 just to do all the legal, accounting, financial, registration, multi-jurisdictional setup, et cetera, et cetera. We got that in 23 days. I thought it was going to take 3 months. I was thinking like 90 to 120 days would raise the money, whereas in 23 days, which just like blew everyone away. So that was really, really cool because it meant we could move very quickly into the next step, which was bringing on full-time developers to start actually building out some of that architecture. And that's what we have been doing since mid-February, systematically working on building out both the front end and the back end of the system. And so we needed to raise an additional $117,000 to pay the development team to produce the beta application. And we have now, I think, about like 47,000 to go that we still have to raise, but we've raised like 70. I think we're at like 71 or 72% of our target right now, which is pretty amazing considering we're still only 3 months. Like we've just hit the 3-month mark since launch. Like we've just hit the mark that I thought we would have raised 50,000 by, and we're at 120,000. So people want this. Like 2,500 people have put their money behind this project so far. And that's completely word of mouth and independent media shows. Like, obviously, we've had no mainstream media coverage. We've had no corporate coverage whatsoever, which is just to be expected because, of course, they're not on board with users not being spied on and having autonomy and freedom of communication. So, funnily enough, they're not supporting us. But eventually, they'll have no choice because eventually the snowball effect of the word of mouth will mean that we won't be able to be ignored. But in the meantime, we've got a really nice leeway, nice space to roll out the beta application, roll out an enhanced feature set after that, and then push to a full, what we call 2.0 public release, which will be the third release of Panquake where everybody on the planet will be able to register for a Panquake account and use it.
That's so fantastic. So I know you just Saturday put out sort of, I forget what you call it, but like updates basically on where it's at. What specific things can you point to that you just announced on Saturday?
Well, it's really interesting. I noticed someone in chat before complaining that I do updates and don't give very much information. Well, we actually, to the contrary, have released more information about our project, our campaign, our architecture, our product, and our development than any tech project I have ever seen in a more than 20-year IT career. In fact, I would challenge anybody to find a single other tech project, startup, whatever, even crowdfunded, seed funding tech projects. Find me one that gives you more information about their product, their commercialization model, their development, their team, than Panquake. It just simply isn't out there. We have had unprecedented transparency. So every single month on the last Saturday of each month, I do a public delivery meeting with some other people from my team, and we release every type of statistic under the sun. We say how much money we've raised, how much more than that was than the previous amount, how many donors we have, how many members are on our team, which ones are paid and which ones aren't paid. We talk all about, I mean, we've released screens of front-end architecture documentation, back-end architectural documentation. We just did a huge Q&A where we took every question that had been emailed to us by users in the last month and answered them all at the end of the delivery meeting. We have just published a whole new tech section on our website. If you go to panquake.com and click on tech, you'll see slideshows of all of our technical documentation in one place, and then videos underneath that with all the video content about containing technical information. We bend over backwards to give the public as much information as we possibly can give, and more than anybody else ever does on a project like this, precisely because we view the public as being our investors. We view our users as being our customers and our investors. Last month's delivery meeting, we had an open letter from our accounts administrator talking about her experience of working on, because this is not like some like piggy bank that we've been given by our donors. We have a proper accounting team. We have accounting meetings. We have business statements, financial statements. Everything's done by proper processes and procedures. It's not just arbitrary decisions by one person or whatever. So we had a statement from our accounts administrator. We had a statement from our operations manager talking all about the processes that are in place running the business on a daily basis. We had a message from our support manager talking about how we interact with our customers and users and giving first-person testimony about what it's like to work for Panquake. Last Saturday night's delivery, we just had an open letter that we published from our lead developer talking all about the back-end development of Panquake, where we're at, what it's like being on a developer on our team, how they feel about the project and the product and the progress. It's all there. So anybody who truly wants to do their due diligence on Panquake, this is an evidence-based decision. This isn't just take my word for it or take Graham's word for it. Go check out my pinned tweet, which is a whole thread of screenshots of all the slides and information we released, and you can see for yourself what we're up to.
Yeah, it's fantastic. But here's the thing, Suzie, what if I don't like all this transparency and I like stuff done behind closed doors with the intelligence community's hand involved with a bunch of unelected tech billionaires? Where do I do then? How does this, if I
then you got to come up with some desperate narratives to try and discredit Panquake. And unfortunately, we've seen a bit of that going on as well. And it's rather amusing actually seeing some of the like shady people who've been pushing like shit our way, quite frankly, excuse my language. They're pretty self-discrediting though. I have seen every ridiculous claim under the sun about me and about Panquake, and I'm sure it's only going to get worse like as the years go by. I'm sure that I'm only just getting a little taste of like the nastiness that's in store. But for every one of those little cretins circulating lies and nonsense about us, there are hundreds of people saying, thank you for doing this. We need this. Please keep going. Please fight. Like, what we had some actually, we just published this really super cool video that our graphic designer Kimber put together for us, and it's a compilation of comments that have been left for us by our donors, and some of them are just absolutely mind-blowing. But the one that's at the very, very end of the video says like, don't stop fighting, just think about our kids. Like, our kids need this. They need a way to communicate where they're not spied on. They need this product. And so it's like, I constantly try and remind myself of that, of the good people who get it and the good people who are legit and who are writing to us in good faith, you know, and not just these like nasty troll creatures that, you know, I don't know what rock they're crawling out from under, but they're few in number comparatively.
Yeah, well, folks, go to panquake.com and support, because this is something we all need. Everyone's been asking, begging for it. And when you first came on to talk about it in January, everyone's like, yes, yes. I mean, overwhelming people are just like so excited for this. So the more folks that can crowdfund this, it's just a time issue. The more money that is had in the crowdfunding, the quicker it gets done. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please hit the like button, the subscribe button. Go to patreon.com/Graham Elwood and rockfin.com/Graham Elwood, where you can support the show. Also, I have a Bitcoin wallet, a Bitcoin Cash wallet, and an Ethereum wallet in the show notes. We're taking cryptocurrency. I have a Coinbase affiliation link. We're going to be getting on some other exchanges. So that's how you support the show. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. YouTube is unsubscribing us at an alarming rate. I have a PayPal button at GrahamElwood.com. I even have a Venmo at Graham-Elwood. There's a lot of ways to support our show. We are getting crushed by YouTube. We've dipped under 73,000 subscribers because of YouTube. Thanks for supporting what we do.